We have Mr. Ashok Dhingra. Ashok Dhingra is BTech from IIT Kanpur, MTech in VLSI and Embedded System, Diploma in Masters in Business Management, and now doing his PhD in Computational Musicology from MIT World University, World Peace University. He is also teaching mathematics in MIT. Of course, you all may be aware he is ex-Philips Audio R&D. Uh, Today, Mr. Dhingra will cover a list of audio products which are possible in India to produce. Because there is a lot of import happening today. So especially amplifiers, PS system, digital power amplifiers, car audio, hearing aids, audiometers, audiometry products, T&M professional products, software for it, industry products, so many things, especially speak recognition and synthesis. So there is a big turnover of such requirement in the country. So this is also another tech talk we are having. We want to give the opportunity to the new entrepreneurs. From that angle, this presentation is planned. So without spending much time, I am requesting Mr. Ashok Dhingra to start his recording, start his presentation. Over to Mr. A.K. Dhingra.
Good morning, everybody. This Tech Forum talk is about manufacturing audio products. I am Ashok Dhingra. I'm talking about this audio product because I have been in the line of manufacturing audio products and I found it very interesting. Now, what is this talk about? See, what is the objective, first of all? Basically, I want to introduce this vast field of audio electronics industry to you all. What is the scope? What is the scope in terms of, let's say, turnover that it offers in terms of hardware? And these days, a lot of scope for developing software for audio product that is also there. Both digital and analog is possible. Then I hope that this talk can motivate some young entrepreneur to enter this field. Now, see, electronics industry is a part of huge electronics manufacturing and service industry in our country. Now, what are the other industries that are present in our country? They are also huge industries like power electronics industry. They are very popular. Test and measuring industry is there. Not that very popular. There are very few companies because that's a very tough field, test and measuring. We have like AppLab in this, right? And then, of course, industries which manufacture computers and they offer services also. That's also a huge industry. Component industry is also very big and worth considering that component industry. Components for basically like loudspeaker and microphone. Some of the components are not even made in India. So there is scope for component industry also. Then control systems, again, a very popular industry. There are a lot of young entrepreneurs go for control systems. So boundaries between these industries are not that very sharp. But they are overlapping. And then we are talking about audio industry here because in audio and acoustics, there is one common thread that is the audio spectrum, that is the speech, music, and hearing, which have a common spectrum. And that I'll talk about in the next slide. I'll show you what is that common spectrum. First, going through what are the contents of this talk. So just basically a very brief definition of what is audio and what is acoustics. I'm sure you know already that, but just to define for the sake of completeness. And then I'll take up audio and acoustics products, just listing some products. They are not in a particular order or something. Uh, I try to cover, I mean, I try to be exhaustive, but some products may be left out here and there. And then another interesting thing is market size for some of the products is known. And that I'd like to tell you what exactly is the market size because that's what will attract entrepreneurs in the field. And then maybe some manufacturers which are already there in the field. And then Another important thing is to enter this field or to be in this field, what is the technical knowledge and what are the skills that you require? So, I'd like to inform you about those. And then if you're starting some small scale industry, uh, uh, what other kind of investments are required? Because if you want to start a medium scale or a bigger industry, that level of investment will be different. But surprisingly, starting a small scale industry, particularly in electronics and audio, is really small, and therefore the entry barrier is small for entering a small scale industry, starting a small scale industry of your own. So with this, we go into just brief definition of what is audio and what is acoustic. Sometimes we use interchangeably these words like audio and what is acoustics. Of course, audio is basically sound, sound relay, sound signals. Sound is of course a acoustical concept, but sound signals basically come in the field of audio because we have our ears, we detect audio, and there is a hearing range of frequencies in human hearing, and that is about 20 hertz to 20 kilohertz, or even maybe narrower than that. With age, it becomes smaller and smaller. Sometimes ultrasonics are also included in audio because the concepts of designing those products can be similar. So ultrasonics may be slightly above 20 kilohertz, starting, of course. Now, of course, ultrasonics field has become so complex that the ultrasonic frequencies are way above 20 kilohertz can be there. Then this is what is the definition of audio. And then audio processes that we are talking about in this talk is basically generation of audio frequencies, processing, receiving, transmitting, reproducing sound signals. So there will be basically products for each of these categories. Products for generating audio, that is sound signals, and then processing digital or analog processing will be there. Then receiving through microphones, transmitting and reproducing, transmitting through, let's say, things like MIDI, MIDI, that music industry, that interface is their digital interface, and then reproducing sound through loudspeakers. So loudspeaker microphones are part of this, and audio circuits are part of this audio processes, like circuits, signal processor, that is digital signal processor or analog signal processor, filters, of course, various infinite type of filters are there. Then amplifier, these are all circuits, amplifier circuits, and both digital and analog circuits are there. So that's what we define as audio field. Acoustics, basically audio is a much broader term, and acoustics possibly is included in that. So acoustic is more, as I've shown in the diagram below, that sound leaves or reproduced by a uh, loudspeaker, and then it reaches our ears or microphone. Now, in that process, a lot of things happen to sound. Sound can get absorbed, sound can get attenuated, diffused, reflected as it travels in air. So that part, the behavior of and control of that part, when the sound leaves a loudspeaker, produced by a loudspeaker, and falls in our microphone or our ears, that is the part of acoustics that we are talking. Now, thing is, what is the importance of this field, audio and acoustics field? You know, uh, basically, that means what is the hello? What is the importance of sound itself? No, sound is the primary source of information for us, and sound is the source of entertainment for us. So that's the very big importance of sound itself. Like we have our eyes. So our ears also take. I mean, life can be hell without our hearing capability. So that's the importance of science, sound itself. Words, words can help us think clearly, express us. So hearing a voice can already tell a lot about the message. So that is very important. Hearing is a very important uh, thing that we have. Okay, so and music is also so essential to part of our life. We cannot think of living a life without music and without sound. So that shows the importance of this field, and that shows that this field is going to be there for all time to come. So It's not a fad or something. So working in the field of audio will always be important and always have a lot of applications. Now, just to, as I said, list a few audio products. Now, this range of audio products may not be, as I said, very exhaustive. Maybe Mr. Vijay Ghate can tell us if something is missing from this. So like public address system, so amplifiers. Then hi-fi amplifiers is another slightly different category, a little more difficult category. And then there are components like microphones. Microphones are actually very complex components, and nobody is really making them in India. Uh, Therefore, there is a lot of scope, but then microphones have to be manufactured in very large quantities. And of course, they have to be manufactured and supplied at very low costs. But they are very important components. And of course, loudspeakers are there. Loudspeaker is also a very important component. Now, what has happened is loudspeaker production has gone down in India. So the reason being, of course, the Chinese invasion, the speaker technology is changing. Now in very small size, you are getting very big output. There are different types of magnets are there. So at the moment, loudspeaker production has gone considerably down in India, but then there is a lot of scope for manufacturing loudspeakers also. Then of course we have headphones. Again, headphones and earphones not really manufactured in India. So there is a lot of scope for doing that. The noise cancelling headphones and earphones, Bluetooth speakers. So again, when you talk about Bluetooth speakers, some modules are imported, and then the modules as well as Bluetooth speakers are imported, and then they are boxed here in India, so not really fully made in India, and therefore there is a scope for manufacturing this. And mixing consoles, AV receivers, yes, some parties in India making those mixing consoles, and AV receivers are not that commonly manufactured in India. Then we have digital power amplifiers. Of course, they are based on basically integrated circuit. They are specialized integrated circuits. Again, at the moment, semiconductors are not made in India, and I think Class D, if at all it is made in India, its turn will come much later. Then another very important category and very large turnover is car audio. Everybody, there are so many cars made, and every car has to have a car audio. Again, car audios, that is car amplifiers, they are imported. There is a lot of scope for manufacturing car audio. Chinese car audios I've seen, they are so nice, so good. Uh, but then we must, some entrepreneurs must come forward to manufacture particularly car audios, which are required in such huge quantities. Somewhere, sometimes we have to compete with the Chinese also. Then there are some professional products, professional audio products like audiometry. That is, uh, here audiometers are instruments which measure threshold of human hearing. I've made, designed, and sold a lot of audiometers, and with the instrument is such that if you are making a good product, selling is not a problem. So audiometry, this professional products, the speech and hearing products, are the turnover or the quantities may be limited, but definitely required. Audiometers. Of course, hearing aids are requirements are huge. See, almost 15 to 20% of population can become hearing impaired. Some hearing impairment is always there. So hearing aid requirement is really very, very high, and it is not made in India. So I just share with you that I am at the moment I am working on this in this field of developing an Indian hearing aid, but of course, a lot of components will be still required from outside. Some imports will be required, but even that effort has not been made in India. That is either some kind of SKD or some kind of just getting importing some components and at least producing, assembling, testing, hearing aid. That effort has not been done. So there is a lot of scope for hearing aid. Then, of course, there are for hearing impaired children, that is speech trainers are required, group hearing aids are required. I have manufactured all these speech trainers as well as group hearing and installed at some school where they mostly have hearing impaired students. Then, of course, there are test and measuring instruments in this field of audio, that is sound level meters. This B&K is such a big manufacturer of sound level meters. But of course, sound level meters are two types. That is, one will be a simple sound level meter. The other will be with, let's say, with FFT, fast Fourier transform analyzers. Both are required and they will continue to be required. So sound level meters are those test and measuring instruments. Which a new entrepreneur can easily manufacture. Then, of course, signal generators are there. Another important category of audio products is the software measuring and analysis system. Like there is a system which I have used personally, that is Clio, that's CLIO. That is there is a company. There are not many companies in the world also who are manufacturing software measuring and analysis system. There's one is that Clio, that is Audiomatica in Italy, and other used to be some LMS, that is loudspeaker measuring system, that uh, some US company was manufacturing, but they have stopped now. I don't know why. But those software measuring and analysis systems, there is a good scope because they always will be required. But they are very, of course, complex. But once you start, uh, developing these, and there can be a lot of applications in India itself. Then music related products are there like synthesizers, uh, and then like electronic music instruments like tabla, tanpura, harmonium. Some companies are manufacturing these electronics tabla, electronics tanpura, electronics harmonium. There is a lot of scope. Nobody, I think, is making synthesizers in India. But there is that scope that synthesizers also can be made in India. So that's another field. And of course, the electronics instrument like tabla, tanpura, harmonium can be extended to other musical instruments also. And then music information retrieval systems is not actually a hardware product, but it's a system. Now it's very popular. That is, some DJs, you tell them you play this 1950 song, sad song or happy song, like this, you give some kind of characteristics sung by this or music composed by this person. I mean, give some information, and then that person will be able to play that song for you. So these are music information retrieval system. That is, from a piece of music, you normally they are annotated. That is a lot of information. When you a song is saved in a memory somewhere, then a lot of information is saved by that song. But some information is always lacking. Like this song may be based on certain raga. That information may not be available. So a music information retrieval system can play a piece of music and maybe derive that raga that is that particular music is based on. So then there are a lot of music learning aids. Learning apps are there. So these are also very common, and some apps are already available in India, developed by Indians. But there's a lot of scope for developing even better music learning aid. Music is always a ongoing topic, and these music learning aids, at the moment, I find they are not that great. I've tried several music learning apps, uh, and I find they can be improved. So a lot of effort is required in improving those music learning apps. Then, of course, this MIDI, that music instrument digital interface, this communicating music that is used in basically synthesizers and all that. So there is scope for developing these MIDI systems. When you, of course, develop synthesizers, then automatically you require MIDI. Then, of course, now chatbots. So here, together with artificial intelligence, machine learning, you can develop those. So, okay, the speech part is
equipment. There is a lot of software in that already there, but you can club it as a kind of audio product. So there is, because audio is there, in that speech recognition is required, speech synthesis is required, and this is a growing field. So uh, again, we need some Indian efforts in developing chatbots. Then there is another field, that is acoustic materials, that is sound insulator, absorbers, noise reduction product. There's some kind of foams are there. There are anechoic chambers. They are always required. So that is also, that is to basically stop reverberation, absorb sound, noise insulating. Product, chambers are there. So that also is basically, they are expensive, but they are always required. We ourselves have um, built acoustic chambers for various companies. Then, of course, everybody knows these buzzers, piezo buzzers, and beepers used in process control. Now, they are not that visible, but they are there always. So huge quantities are there, although maybe low cost products, but they are there and they are required. And again, there is a scope for manufacturing. At least if you, even if you import that piezo element, uh, still making box testing and all that, that is possible. And a lot of value addition is still possible. Then, of course, there are products like special product like special wires, which are used in music industry, crossover networks, again used in use along with big loudspeakers. We have made crossover network passive, active. So a lot of scope in developing and manufacturing those products. Okay. Now, just a very brief idea about what exactly is the market, that is the market size of audio products. So just I did some look up on the internet. So hearing aids, the market size in dollar terms, that is, I'm talking about in India, it's about 450 million. That's said to be about 3,600 crores. So hearing aid is always a good product to manufacture. And at the moment, there are no manufacturers in India. There are now hearing aids are coming, which are called over-the-counter hearing aids. In the sense that just like you go to a shop and buy some medicine, you should be able to go to a shop and buy some hearing aids and try them out. Normally, what happens is, normally the route is, if you have a hearing problem, you go to an audiologist. They will do some very elaborate testing, and then they will suggest, recommend some kind of hearing aids, and they will fit also those hearing aids and test everything. But that's a somewhat expensive process, although one should go through that process. But now hearing aids are being developed, which are sold over the counter. You don't have to go through any audiologist. Just go try out some hearing aids yourself and start using them. Okay. So hearing aid is a very growing market, and actually, I am also at the moment involved in developing, at least to some extent, hearing aids in India. To start with, at least, we should be able to do some value addition, and then later on, more and more value addition can be done. Now, a public address system, Ahuja Radios is one company. Just to give you an example of size of the market. Now, here I mentioned 100 crore. Actually, it is much more than 100 crore. That is public address systems. Then car audio, again, sold in India is about 4 million car audios. So the rupees is about 1,800 crores. Again, at the moment, nobody is making car audio in India because very low cost and very high quality car audios are available from China. But I think somebody should make a beginning. Why we can't make car audio? So that's another field. There is scope for doing that. Of course, in automobile sector, I just want to point out that quality performance criteria are very, very strict. So that can be one reason why car audios are not made in India, because automobile, anything that goes into an automobile has to have very, very high quality and performance standards. They don't compromise on these aspects. there should not be any failures. So that's why possibly nobody has entered this field at the moment. Which anything to deal and do with automobile sector, there's a big requirement is big, but then standards are also extremely high. Then there, of course, figures are not available, but there are large number of unorganized sectors in power amplifiers, audiometer, test and measuring, apart from those big companies like Apple. So now, what is the technology that is there in audio? Of course, whatever, apart from, let's say, microphone and loudspeaker, when we're talking about circuits, you require digital processing, you require knowledge of signal processing, you require how to design digital filters. Then you have to have, you should be very familiar with, conversant with using microprocessors, microcontrollers, programming microcontrollers, like using C language or maybe Python, and so that you are able to program microcontroller. Mostly embedded C is required, microcontrollers. So that will be there. So that field, in fact, should attract young entrepreneurs, because high technology is required in manufacturing audio products. Even in amplifier, even in power amplifier these days, what is happening is a lot of controls are digitized, like volume control, tone controls. These are all now digitized. Of course, analog controls are said to be better, but then people are going for more and more, first of all, digital controls, and then a lot of digital interfaces there, displays are there. So that way, audio technology has changed to that extent. So no more analog. It is becoming more and more digital. Even amplifiers, as I said, those class D amplifiers are basically, except for the very, very last stage, they are completely digital now. Now, what are the instruments required for setting up? Suppose you want to set up a small scale unit. So what are the, first of all, skills required, and what are the production systems required? So let me talk about the skills first. Of course, skill required is basically, we already mentioned that analog electronic design, because front end in any audio product is analog. Even the last and the last thing in audio product, when you are doing the sound reproduction, that is also analog. So there has to be very good understanding of uh, analog electronics. So when you're talking about analog electronics, there are a lot of amplification, there are distortion, there's noise is there. So how to deal with noise, how to deal with distortion, these things are required. So working with the uh, analog understanding of analog electronics is very important. Of course, digital electronics is also very important, but the people are more afraid of these days analog electronics rather than digital electronics. Now, what are the measuring instruments required? Now, they're surprisingly, of course, very few, and they are not really very high cost instruments. Like oscilloscopes are there. Even a 20 megahertz oscilloscope can be sufficient, maybe either single channel or dual channel. Then some audio generators are always required. Audio generators like up to like Apply audio generator is up to some 3 megahertz and all. So uh, uh, these are the audio generators, and they are much cheaper compared to what are called HF, that is high frequency generators, which go into megahertz. Now, distortion analyzers are also required for that. Power meters, which actually measure the power being developed by the audio circuits. And of course, power supplies are always required in whatever electronics industry that you are working with. And software systems. Software systems tend to be like Clio, as I mentioned, they tend to be a little expensive, but they are absolutely essential if you want to work with in audio. Uh, because they're very exhaustive. They do a lot of things. These systems like Clio. So we also had a system like Clio, and a lot of measurements could be done by that system itself. Even in production, it could be used. Then, of course, soldering systems are required. That is PCB design, mechanical design. These things are PCB CAD is required. Even mechanical CAD is required. Like PCB is like a system. They are free system PCB design system like Express PCB. They are PCB design systems like PADS PCB, which are a little expensive, but uh, there is a variety of CAD and affordable. So a lot of CAD is a must. You must have PCB design, you must have mechanical design system. But now these systems are quite affordable. Now, what are the margins? What are the marketing required? Margins, I think, like any other electronic product, like sales price could be 2 to 4 times the inputs, whatever the, let's say you make a parts list of materials, add some labor and all that, and then price could be easily 3 to 4 times that. That is for professional equipment. Even for amplifiers also, margins are very good. Of course, margin is a kind of thing in any industrial product. The margins can be very good because all audio products, they are all professional. Uh, they are not totally commercial products sold at very low cost or something. Except for, I'll say, microphone. Microphones are such complicated products, but still they are sold at very low price because then they are really mass produced. Then another thing about marketing, I have seen that technology products don't require much of marketing. As long as you register yourself like a electronic that is electronics magazine, that is in their annual directory, if you are listed, people come to you. So marketing, you don't have to go door to door. You just have to, somewhere in the marketplace, you have to announce that you are there, you are manufacturing these products, and customers will come to you. So marketing is not exactly a problem in selling audio products, like listing in professional magazines and things like digital marketing also is not so much required. I mean, we have used digital marketing like Google Word and all that is there. But that's just about the marketing that you need. Your product should be good and it should be reliable, and then people come to you. So marketing is not such a problem. And margins are always good. Margins are, uh, again, no problems at all. So all you have to focus, uh, if you want to go for manufacturing, you have to focus on manufacturing only. Other problems are not that intimidating. Marketing is not intimidating. Pricing is not such a problem. So manufacturing a good, reliable product, if you focus on that, that is good enough. Then I've just done some simple calculation. Like if you want to start a small scale industry, and I've seen some friend, I can give you one example also. This 500 square feet, actually I've taken from a friend who has a 500 square feet workshop. His turnover, he's making a turnover of 6 crores on that small 500 square feet premises. How he's doing, he's making audio products, and uh, but there are some like audiometers and all that he is manufacturing. But his main products that he sells are hearing aids, and their hearing aids also a lot of first of all margins are there, and quantities are huge. He gets huge orders in hearing. One order can be some 30 lakhs, 50 lakhs, and all that. So to supply some small populations there, maybe some school or some college or something like this. So what I'm saying is, in a small premises like 500 square feet, whether you rent it or you buy it, there is a possibility, particularly in electronics, that is, you can still have a large turnover. This is the actual figures from that person. That is about 6 crores. So combination of trading and combination of manufacturing. So it does both. So manufactures some products, and some products like hearing aid, because hearing aids are not manufacturable at the moment. So he buys from Siemens and all that. And then, but then a lot of work is required to actually sell and install hearing aids. You have to have some mold, you have to prepare some mold of the uh, ears so that you are able to have hearing aid exactly fitting inside the ear. So a lot of value addition is still there, even if you buy and even if you trade in hearing aids. So now, as I said, oscilloscope and all that, these instruments I've already mentioned before, AC millivoltmeter and true RMS, LCR, distortion analyzer. I've already mentioned these instruments somewhere. So what is the total investment that could be there? So what can be anybody's guess? So all these instruments will not total more than about 1.5 lakhs. So things are that cheap. It is starting SSI industry in audio products. I think that can be applicable to any electronics industry, could be applicable to. So the initial investment is so low. So there is no barrier in starting that SSI industry as far as investment is concerned. Of course, working capital required is totally depending on the turnover that you want to achieve. Now, if you are planning it, if you are want a turnover of 1 crore, if you are selling things like 1 crore, then to that extent you require, let's say, components worth about 20 lakhs, and then you will have debtors. So these things will be there. So working capital required will be based on entirely on your turnover, but working capital is basically financed by banks also. But the fixed investment that is required, that could be very small. I think somewhere I've calculated this. Let me see in the next slide. I think that calculation is not there, but these are just listing still SSI the requirements of equipment basically required to manufacture. Uh, so, like soldering components, soldering equipment will always be required, and then some miscellaneous like mechanical. You have to have a small mechanical workshop, like drilling machine, hand tools, and then of course computer, PCB design softwares, and accounting software. I always recommend some people try to avoid that or getting their accounting done from somewhere else. But you could buy a Tally that is low end. They have several versions of Tally. Even a low end Tally for a small scale industry will be good. And then, if you can afford a measuring software like Clio, that is not compulsory to start with. So, I feel comfortably a person can start an SSI with very small investment. Of course, those skills are required. That is knowledge of audio, and of course how to handle people and all that. Here I can just want to give another example. That is again a friend who's manufacturing audiometry products and who's trading in hearing aids. As already mentioned to you, the turnover is about 6 crores. What is his qualification? He's just a diploma. He cannot design it. He has no knowledge of circuits and all that. But he gets those circuits even for audiometry. Audiometer is a very complex circuit, but he gets developed from outside from a team of people. But then how a person with such low knowledge of electronics is able to have such a high turnover? The thing is, he has one skill. He knows the features that he wants in his electronics audio products. He knows the features he wants in a, let's say, audiometer that he wants to sell. But, and also, if an audiometer is given to you, he can judge, he can test out. He has very good ears. The most important, that is equipment that a person can have in working with audio is human ears. He has such good ears that he can find out whether the system is linear or not. That is at low end, whether it's a more noise or there's a distortion and all that. So he's able to evaluate a audio product. So he's not able to design an audio product, but he's able to evaluate an audio product and he can certify himself whether this audio product is saleable or not. So you should have one skill which is better than anybody else. So that skill, that's what happens in a small scale industry. Those skills are required, some skill which is unmatched by anybody else. Because as a small scale unit, you are leader in whatever you are manufacturing in that field. And you cannot be expert, of course, in everything. The entire chain, that is from designing to testing to then finally production and marketing. But somewhere you should have that skill, some skill, which is better than anybody else. So where you are leading in that particular skill. So like this person who has even a skill of evaluating products and finding out what are the features required by the market, and he goes and installs also the hearing aids. Therefore, he is not just selling hearing aids. He will go and install. He will install in the sense that to all hearing impaired people, he himself will fit the hearing aid. He will check what kind of hearing aids is required and how it is programmed for a particular ear, and then he is able to really satisfy the customer. So some skills that way are required where you are better than anybody else. So that is what I want to convey today. That is just to sum up. That is audio products. I have given you a list of audio products that can be manufactured. There is a lot of scope because some audio products are not even made in India, but requirement is high. Requirement is always there. Requirement is high, and then the manufacturing barrier is very low. In the sense that the investment required in manufacturing audio product is low. The skills required, some skills are definitely required. Even if you don't have design skills, you should have manufacturing skills. You should have skill for in testing the products. Somewhere, some skills are required. But if you have all the skills, you can design audio products. You can then evaluate, test, and then produce and market. Nothing like it. You are then definitely better. You can keep on then expanding and growing in that case. See, those who don't have all these skills put together, they will grow to some extent, but not continuously, not become really very big in the field. So if you have all these skills, particularly designing audio products yourself, and then of course after that testing, evaluating, manufacturing, and marketing, then that will be great. You can do great in this field. And requirement, the barriers are low. That is, initial investments are low, but then uh, whatever other investments are required, that is, they are depending on basically uh, the turnover that you want to achieve. So, so I think this is a very important field. Importance is always there because speech and hearing are very important things. And then low manufacturing, low entry barriers in this field are there. And skill requirement, of course, are there. That is there in all fields. The more the skills you have in designing, signal processing, and all that, more you can grow in this field. Thank you very much. I want to conclude here at the moment. I hope
Thank
it
you.
was useful. But if you have any question, then we can talk about those.
Yeah. Thank you, Dhingraji, for wonderful presentation. It has really given an insight in audio industry. We will take some few questions. First,
Yes.
identify yourself and ask the query, our question. Over to the attendee.
Hello, I'm Vijay Gate.
Yes.
Hello, Dhingra. Very nice overview, quite comprehensive.
Yeah. Thank you.
Over the last 15 to 20 years, I observed one important thing for audio, both home audio and professional audio. The way programs are distributed, the music programs or video, whatever, has completely changed.
Yeah, that's right.
So the sources like cassette decks and CD players and DVD recorders are no more required.
Yeah. Yeah, I think
So,
we have to keep changing with the time.
yeah.
But I felt that in some form or the other, they will always be required. Like amplifiers will always be required. Maybe becoming more compact and all that. But the mix is changing.
Yes,
The
that's what
audio
I meant.
is changing.
Though, as you correctly said, the middle part, the amplification is always required, whatever source you use.
Yeah, because reproduction, that is sound reproduction will always require amplifier.
Right.
And then like front end and last end, they are always analog. So there'll always be
Yes.
scope for that. There are several products like synthesizers are not made in India. I mean, you are trying to say that now a laptop or a computer can do everything.
Yeah, almost. I mean, including amplifications and all kinds of things.
Yeah, that is there, but I still feel this field will always remain attractive.
Yeah.
So anything else you will like to add? I mean, this is a very important point. Of course, now these days, a computer can do everything.
And they're becoming cheaper.
They are
So
becoming
you don't,
cheaper.
Need to be bound to technology at that time. You can, as the sources develop, you can.
Yeah, I've seen like audiometer. Audiometer tests the hearing threshold of a human being. Now that can be done by a Apple phone.
Yes.
The iPhone can do a lot of things and make these instruments basically redundant.
Yeah.
It can be done. But then I have seen people now developing apps. So
That's right.
using Apple iOS, they are developing apps. So develop
Yes.
apps.
Yes.
So still a lot of scope for working in these fields.
Yeah, of course.
Any
Thank
further
you.
questions? I think we have Shekhar Bhave from the industry. Shekhar, would you like to have any query or add something?
I think this is Mr. Bhave of he has an industry in Bhosri Industrial Estate.
Yeah, Bhave. But I don't know whether he's there because at the beginning he was there. Right now, I don't know. Okay, any more queries? Yeah. Go ahead.
Because he has been a big supplier to defense.
Yeah, depends. Yes.
Navy.
Yeah.
Scope there now. Still,
Yeah.
public address systems fitted in ships.
Yeah. P Audio is the name of the company. And I
Correct.
think he's doing quite a good job for Indian defense, especially Navy.
Yes.
Shekhar, if you are around, would you like to add something? I think he has left because he told me he will attend and then go. Okay. Any more queries from the people, those who are attending? Okay. Let me summarize then. Dhingra Sahab, it was a wonderful lecture and you have taken a total overview as said by
I can share the PPTs. I mean, I will send you those PPTs. So if somebody wants, you can have it.
We also have the recording. So recording also content. But those who want the PPT, I will share. Definitely, it is a good and eye opener because audio industry is not looked by many small scale or big industries.
They are not considered really.
Yeah, they are not considered, and most of the industries like Philips or people who are in audio, they focus on radio, PA systems, and very limited scope they foresee. But anyway,
so that's somewhat discouraging. But I thought there is a lot of scope still.
You have opened a Pandora's box, and it's a vast industry which can definitely give good margins. That was one of the underlying comment from your side. So we really appreciate this presentation.
Yes.
So friends, we have a wonderful day today, and we are going to meet after a fortnight again for a similar tech talk. Exciting subject, exciting talks by experts. And do join us, do join Tech Forum. This is a like-minded technocrat group